Prologue. Splish, loosh, sploosh, loosh. As lilting waters rose, the prisoner sensed the boat that bore his weight inch higher. An unseen current washed in. It lifted him up. One word kept calling. He heard it amplify his imagination. The river he sailed as a boy flashed in his mind's eye. Those friends who had pushed him in the waterfall, he banished them from his life completely. It would only invite more torment to wonder what happened to them, whether they recalled, as he did, the palpitations of fear they'd created, like waves of water rippling outwards. He heard the word again, as if someone whispered in his ear. It mingled, as real as the sound of lapping water, as real as the creaking wood of the boat, as dangerous as the distant chatter of his two jailers. Amid their violent shouts towards him, they were the last two people to whom he now spoke. They'd become the only friends he had left. Memories of a childhood amid mountains flooded back. A youth amongst nature gave him the yearning to be a park ranger. Again, he remembered the river he knew as a child, a bittersweet memory. The rock pool he made with his brother. When they tried to enclose a small pool of water, it trickled and escaped, bit by bit, day by day. His father told him it was inevitable. You could never own water. It always flowed away. It moved to new streams, transformed and ascended to the sky. Those carefree days had been, what was the word? Possible. Opportunity seemed a ripe apple, until he received the call. It was best not to think about it now. Look where it landed him. Instead, his thoughts roamed round his tired mind. He thought of his wife, no doubt battling anxious thoughts herself, albeit some distance from him. His two sons, they liked wrestling. No doubt they wrestled each other to the ground this very moment. Centuries of violence unable to annihilate itself. These thoughts of his family, the only family he had left, kindled a subtle flame of love and warmed his heart with dim heat. However, the meagre hope extinguished when his mind sensed the perils which awaited. The silent word felt deafening. With aching wrists he tried to cup his ears through the handcuffs. He was glad they gagged him, glad they took away his right to a voice. He was afraid what he might hear himself say or scream out loud. At least they afforded him this last dignity. There were no words left to say, not to them anyway. For his family, all he could think of was the three-word mantra of peace he tried to live his life by. Ultimately, he knew it would not prove enough to keep him on earth. It would not prove enough for anybody. Drip, drip, drip. Thick droplets of dirty water fell heavily from the cavern ceiling, landing like slugs on the prisoner's bare back. Reluctantly, he inhaled the rank odour. The cavern smelt damp and musty. It was a smell he knew, something close to death. The stench floated in pungent waves of toxic air, and sulphur drifted in his nostrils. It clogged his airways with malodorous concentrations, making him retch. Still, there were splashes in the river beyond. Imagination gripped him again. It could have been the tying of a mooring to a jetty. When his unseen captors muttered dangerously, the strange cold echoes of their voices revealed the cavern was larger than he first thought. As the boat rocked from side to side, the prisoner shivered. It was freezing, but he had long since grown used to the cold. The shivering was caused by a deep tremor of fear within. The ghastly noises he'd heard haunted him. It sounded like a distorted pop song slowed deliberately to an intolerable and ghostly moan, replaying itself in his head like a tape, rewinding automatically when it ended before beginning its horrible melody once more. The terror-spiked rumours were true. He had seen the bloody evidence, gleaming in pale moonlight. Ron and Eddie were preparing. Their prolonged silence spoke volumes. Accustomed to the blindfold worn for so long around his black eyes, he had become accustomed to Ron and Eddie's personalities too. They only stopped jabbering when their boss approached. He sat patiently waiting for something to happen. Then voices broke the quiet. "Hey Ron, did you bring the silencer?" Ice-cold dread plummeted from the prisoner's heart to the pit of his stomach. Small beads of clammy sweat froze on his forehead. "Yeah, it's lying on the side of the Oh, shit! Where'd it go?" "I don't know. I can't see it. Oh, shit, he's gonna kill us. It must have fallen in." Then silence. The prisoner's anxiety began to surge. Amid currents of fear coursing through adrenaline-charged veins, he struggled to retain consciousness. Whilst Eddie and Ron were jovial, at least with each other, the prisoner hoped for quick and peaceful resolution. But he knew whenever they grew tense, they took it out on him. It made him nervous. He grew desperate for one of them to say something. He wanted them to sort the issue of the silencer. Desperately, he hoped it wasn't meant for him. Deep down, he knew exactly that it was. Wild hope seized him. Perhaps they wouldn't find it. Surging adrenaline nearly sent him hysterical. It rushed with tides of pulsing joy. Perhaps it was lost forever, and because of it they would let him go, though neither said a word. The prisoner knew it useless to engage Ron or Eddie in conversation while angry, so he remained quiet. Then he heard footsteps walking away from the boat and breathed a tentative sigh of relief. All the tension, disquiet and fear faded with the diminishing noise of those footsteps. In that moment, all the discomfort and worry the prisoner had experienced in his life seemed to vanish. Then he heard more footsteps, this time approaching the boat. They grew louder and louder until abruptly they stopped. Crack! A loud thud reverberated round the cavern. It echoed in the prisoner's ears until he could no longer hear. He felt distinctly odd, like something drained away. Then he tasted thick blood pour in his mouth. Its sharp metallic tang sent signals to his fading brain before he could no longer taste nor feel anything anymore.